Holy cow, I always forget how loud that is. Welcome to the Missing Links postcast. I'm your host, Andrew Dukowitz, beat writer for Zone Coverage. I cover the Minnesota Lynx and the Minnesota Timberwolves over there as a credentialed beat reporter. And we're here to talk about another Lynx victory tonight. 7-0 on the season. I can continue to keep saying that the Lynx have yet to play a full 40 minutes of basketball, and that held up again tonight, but 7-0. Shout out to the Daily Wolves for allowing us to be on their channel on YouTube and kind of use their platform to put out some awesome Lynx coverage as well. But let's get into it. Minnesota Lynx beat the Golden State Valkyries in their first ever matchup. Lynx win 86-75. And if you were watching the game at home, it got a little leery through most of the game. Lynx kind of were just clawing back into it for most of the game. Kind of seemed anytime they would get a lead or kind of maybe get a little bit of a run going, either a foul would get called, Kate Martin would hit a three for some reason, or just kind of general Lynx tomfoolery would happen, especially in the second quarter where they just turned the ball over like 4 times in 3.5 minutes. Outside of the general tomfoolery that we've come to expect from the Lynx, it was pretty just a basic 2025 Lynx game where they have 1.5 to 2 really good quarters, and those quarters are so good that nothing else matters. In this game, again, kind of neck and neck, fighting back and forth going into halftime. As Nafisa Collier said post game, Cheryl expressed her frustrations to the locker room, and her frustrations were pretty directed at effort and just kind of what it takes to be a undefeated WNBA team. And then the Lynx came out in the third quarter and their defense was flawless. They allowed 8 points. The Valkyries had no breathing room for a majority of that third quarter, and they actually only allowed 10 points over about 15 minutes of game time. They were holding the Valkyrie to just 2 points about midway through the fourth quarter, which that is the ceiling for this Lynx team. If they can figure out the effort issues, their words, not mine. I could not play as hard as even the worst WNBA player plays, so I am not going to call out people's effort. But if Cheryl calls it out, I will cite Cheryl that if their effort can kind of come around and just be consistent through an entire game, this is the level of defense they can play with Alana Smith, Nafisa Collier in the middle. Courtney and T have both been, awesome on the perimeter, even playing together. They have been great. The lack of size has not been an issue. Bridget looked great in the second half. K-Mac, it looks like the defensive stopper we know she can be, and everything kind of works and functions. Jessica Shepard even looked like she was having a good defensive game, especially in the second half. She wasn't really out of position a whole lot. She was really kind of banging in there. But that's, as Ben says in the chat, that's, we all wish the defense would show up for 40 minutes, because if it did, this is the level of defense that they can be at, is allowing 50 points per game to one of the higher volume 3-point shooting teams in the league. And it has to be frustrating. And I think that's why we're getting these kind of second half turnarounds pretty often, because my interpretation of like what I hear on the beat is that the team goes into halftime, Cheryl and the coaches kind of go, what are we doing? They don't really make a ton of, it's not like they rip the game plan up and give the team a new game plan. It's literally a, what are you gals doing? Go out there and play the way that you can play. And it's almost like the team needs to be reminded how good they are, and then they just kind of take care of business. At least tonight, that's what the explanation was from Courtney to Fee to Coach Reeve. It was, sounded like a solely just effort type of issue. The good thing with that is we know this team can play at a high level. They reach that at times. This is 6 out of the top 8 ladies returning from last year's WNBA championship level team. Like, they can get to that level. Now it's just about how can we get there consistently. I've said it a couple times on the other side of the ball. I have no concerns with this offense. T is playing at her pre-Lynx levels. This is the best T has looked in a Lynx uniform this season. Bridget looks like her shot's coming around. K-Mac can get you 20 any night. Fee is going to get you 20 every night. And Courtney seems like it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde thing where one night she'll score 25 and the next night she might go 0 for 16, which with the Mercury coming up on Tuesday, hopefully she doesn't have one of those nights, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of in between right now. I would expect that's going to get ironed out at some point. Courtney is way too accomplished of a player to keep having these ebbs and flows. At some point, it probably regresses more to the mean where she's getting 12 to 14 a night, not 20 some nights, 6 the other nights. But the added bonus of Jessica Shepard off the bench and Elena Smith being able to go back to her kind of natural power forward positions at times has been awesome. I mean, Lan said it earlier, like this, or she said to me last week. I'm forgetting what day we're on. It's only Sunday. Last week she talked to me about it of like having Shepard here means that she can walk the next day. She doesn't have to be bruising with centers all game. And we're seeing that quite a bit. Tonight, not so much, as she didn't shoot her first shot until the fourth quarter. But generally, she's been able to get out into those corner threes more often. She's not having to crash as much for offensive rebounds. She's not having to like body inside the paint as much to kind of create that like vertical spread of the floor. But that's huge for this offense. I mean, Lan is a great 3-point shooter, and then Shepard just doesn't make a lot of mistakes on offense. So the fact that the Lynx went out there and scored 86 again tonight doesn't surprise me. I think this is going to be one of the best, if not the best offense in the W this year. It's just, can they get their defense to match that offense every night and not just 2 quarters out of a night? I'm going to throw us over to a quick ad read here, and then we'll go through some of the individual highlights, players for the game, and we'll kind of close the show just bringing up the Mercury game again, giving a preview for Tuesday.
It's playoff time in Minnesota. The energy is electric, the stakes are high, and every move counts. You can feel it, right? The momentum, the nerves, the is this really happening buzz. The spring real estate market in the Twin Cities has the same kind of energy. Headlines are flying out about interest rates, the economy, and what's coming next. It's exciting, yes, but also confusing and a little bit overwhelming. Whether you're thinking about buying, selling, or just wondering if that Zestimate is lying to you, don't overthink it. Go to wolvesrealtor.com and connect with Heather. She's not just a fan in the stands. She's on the court every day with Exit and North Star Realty, reading plays, adjusting the strategy, and helping people make confident moves, not panicked ones. Even if you're just curious or unsure about the next step, wolvesrealtor.com is where you start. No pressure, just real talk, real answers, and a game plan that actually works. Because when it comes to real estate, just like basketball, having the right coach makes all the difference. Go check out wolvesrealtor.com and tell them Matt from the Daily Wolves sent you.
Ad read, but let's get into some of the box scoresy type of things, because if you're picking up a Star Tribune tomorrow and you're reading Kent Youngblood's kind of game recap box score of it, it looks pretty one-sided. Lynx won by 11. You had 60 points between Collier, Williams, and Kayla McBride. Your 3 big guns kind of showed up, and there's not a lot to talk about. However, like digging into the game, it really, to me, seemed Fee had a really, really good first quarter. 10 points, looked like she was getting to her spots, 1 for 1 from 3, got to the free throw line for an and one. She was hitting the mid-range, and then it just kind of went silent. And it's something that last season reared its head quite a bit, where Fee maybe would just fall out of the game plan, or other people would be looking for their shots or things like that. And Fee is, I mean, the epitome of a team player. She's not going to be selfish if other people have it going on. Like, she is happy to have other people score. But after 10 points in the first quarter, she finished with 37. Like, she played 37 minutes and finished with just 24. So she drops 10 in the first 10 minutes, and then she drops 14 in the next 27 minutes. It's just another thing that, like, is just, you'd like to see Fee score more. And to her credit, she shot a team high 18 shots. Some of them just weren't going in. But it's, again, going back to that consistency thing, where it seems like everybody on the team just I mean, tonight it was the second quarter where Kate Martin starts getting going. They start turning the ball over and the wheels come off. Fee kind of goes in line with that too, where it's just the consistency of greatness from the first minute to the last minute just has been kind of hit and miss game to game. Again, she has played a ton of basketball over the last year between Unrivaled going to the championship. I think it will be kind of ironed out by the end of the season. She also is coming back from kind of a knee twinge, I'll say. I think it'll get ironed out by the end of the season, but it's just one of those things where it's just, you'd like to see that aggression level from the first quarter carry all the way through the game. K-Mac, I thought was awesome. And I'll mention here, Ben had another comment of just, she should be getting 8 to 10 free throws a game. Completely agree. I mean, she got 7 tonight. I think she probably could have gotten a couple more calls, especially on those like straight line drives that she does. It seems like she gets a lot of contact, but I mean, that's the hardest thing for me going from the NBA, watching the Wolves play and Shea play and men's basketball, and then transitioning back to the W going into the summer, is the physicality level in the W. Like, these gals should be shooting free throws every single drive to the basket. Like, no NBA team would be satisfied with these calls because the physicality level in the W is insane. Like, the fact there's not more injuries, the fact there's not more like fights is shocking, especially when you're watching NBA regular season basketball and it's like people just fall over and they get free throws. Anyways, that's me on my soapbox of why the WNBA deserves a lot more respect, because they're getting hammered a lot more. Anyways, back to breaking down players. K-Mac, thought she had a really good game. 6 rebounds was pretty huge. She's not really a huge rebounding guard, but they needed him tonight. I mean, for a gal that has now had 2 practices with the Lynx and 1 exercise bike session, to continue to put in 16 points, 33 minutes, 6 of 10 from the field, good efficiency. She's, I mean, had a couple turnovers, but I didn't think either of them were really like egregious. Great game by K-Mac. And then Courtney, I mean, it's Coach Reeves said it as a joke last week, and she kind of made mention to it again of her short memory after the Mercury game. And she made mention again today that, it's a ride with Courtney. It is just kind of amazing how she can shake off a pretty tough game against the Mercury and shoot 17 shots, get 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I think she just had just one turnover, had a couple steals as well. Box score says she's -10, but a lot of that is because she played a majority of the minutes in the second quarter. I mean, you take that second quarter out, she was awesome tonight. She brought it for most of the game. Fourth quarter, when she came back in for tea, she was locked in. And that leads to, Natisha Heidemann, 8 points, 4 assists again tonight, just 1 turnover, a couple steals. And she is, I would argue, in the running for 6th gal of the year, 6th woman of the year, 6th top bench player of the year. They got to come up with new names for these awards, because 6th man of the year and 6th woman of the year just sounds dumb. Anyways, she just has this ability to hit big shots anytime. 6th player of the year. There we go, Ben. Appreciate you, man. 6th player of the year. I still argue we need a better name than that, like bench heater. That would be cool. Anyways, be a cool trophy at least. Unless, I'm getting sidetracked because of the ADHD. But Natisha Heidemann, just anytime she needs a big shot coming in off the bench, hits a big 3 in the third quarter. She's energy there constantly. I mean, for her size, she guards significantly better than most people at her position that aren't undersized. She has a knack for poking at the ball. She had the play where she's diving out of bounds to try and get a loose ball. I mean, she is a starting point guard in the WNBA, and it's just lucky that we have her as really to kind of manage Court. If Court's having a bad game, T can have a good game. She's going to bring that consistency. If Court's having a heater, you probably don't need T as much. The last thing I did want to bring up on just the rosters as a whole, and then we'll hit another commercial, come back from that and talk about the Mercury, is just it seems like Cheryl really wants to find a ninth person in the rotation. Peely got 3 minutes tonight. After praising her against the Mercury, this was a pretty rough 3 minutes for Peely. Did have a couple rebounds, but had that tough foul when she just kind of gave up a straight line drive, had a turnover, had a weird kind of Natisha tried to get her on just like a pretty basic pass, and Peely, it looked like she almost like alligator armed it. But tough Peely night. No Diamond tonight, no Yen tonight. Kosu, I would kind of at this point bet that she's not going to get minutes unless something crazy happens. But I think Cheryl's trying to figure out which of those three between Peely, Miller, and Bidyen can give her just 5 minutes. And those 5 minutes are probably the 5 minutes that Fee isn't playing, which again, kind of, you're grading on a curve if Fee isn't in the game. But I wouldn't be surprised if Peely's out of the rotation on Tuesday and Diamond's back in. I wouldn't be surprised if they're both out and they go with Badu again. I do think they need to find that ninth person in the rotation. And, on nights like tonight where the turnovers get kind of out of hand, it does make me wonder, like, would it be a benefit to have like a Grace Berger here, who was the last cut coming out of camp? But it's also hard to argue about any of the people that did make the team. They are all pretty darn accomplished or high draft picks, but it is just something that I think will be interesting over the next couple weeks to see where they settle on those last 5 minutes, or if they even settle on that. I mean, Cheryl ran with an 8-gal rotation almost all of last season. That's definitely still up for play as well. Might be she's just kind of kicking the tires to see what she has, and then she decides now we're just going to go 8. But it's just been interesting to me how much kind of turnover and short leash that last spot has. We're going to hit one more ad here, and then we'll preview the Mercury game.
What's up, Minnesota fans? Many of you know that I help fans get tickets into games, and now I'm giving you an opportunity to get tickets to any sporting event you want, not just basketball. We're talking football. We're talking hockey. We're talking soccer, man. Any sporting event that's in town, or maybe it's a concert. All you have to do is use my promo code, The Daily Wolves, all caps, on SeatGeek. That's right. I partnered with the SeatGeek app. You can download it on iOS or Android devices. You can find it on your web browser at SeatGeek.com. Check it out today. Enter my promo code, The Daily Wolves, and get $20 off your first order.
Thank you, Evan, for an ad read. That was wonderful. So Phoenix coming to Minnesota on Tuesday. I'll note both teams are flying out from LA, I would assume. Phoenix went and took care of the Sparks tonight, 85-80. Still no Alyssa Thomas. I don't know if she'll be back for Tuesday's game. If I hear anything, I'll post a tweet about it. But I would assume playing each other, two times in 5 days, that it's going to be another pretty contested game. I mean, Sabali was really good in Phoenix. I don't think that's going to change just by coming to Minnesota. There's no like one team's playing on the back end of a back-to-back, or one team's flying in from Toronto, and well, not Toronto yet, but one team's flying in from LA and the other one's sleeping in their own beds. Ben says AT did not make the road trip. So if she's not on the road trip, I would assume she's not taking a Delta flight to Minneapolis to meet up with the team. But it's one of those things where I think they're pretty evenly matched teams. If AT is healthy, if Fee is going to play and play like she did tonight, it should be another win for the Lynx. But this team has just been weird, which, what do you do? Sometimes you just have a team that's kind of weird. I'm trying not to be negative about a team that's 7-0, but we really haven't seen them play a complete game yet, other than maybe the Storm game, if you want to kind of nitpick about it. But even that one, they kind of took a quarter off. It'll be a good test for them on Tuesday. Both teams on rest. Both teams, I would assume the Lynx probably are not going to practice or anything on Monday. Same with the Mercury. So it'll be kind of a good litmus test of, okay, if Fee's in, everything else remains the same. What is kind of the gap between these two? And I mean, looking forward on the schedule, the Lynx really have a chance to kind of rattle off wins after that. They play in Dallas for a Sunday 3 p.m. game. They have Seattle in Seattle, which Seattle's been kind of struggling offensively quite a bit. The Sparks, I think they have a real good chance at beating again. And then they don't really have like another top tier game until the Aces on the 17th. And I mean, if the Lynx rattle off 11-0, that's going to make a really big difference, especially as teams gel and get more kind of continuity as the season goes on. Because what we're seeing, I feel like in the W right now, is a lot of teams still trying to figure out where their new pieces fit into rotations. And it's one thing if you're playing pickup at the park and you just winner stays, the losers assemble a new team and get on the court, and you just kind of figure it out within 10 minutes of playing with people. It's different in the W when, I mean, Second Spectrum is now in the WNBA. These teams have analytics on all of the players in the league, which way they like to dribble, where they like to drive, where they're shooting from which spots, with how many seconds touching the ball. I mean, it takes adjustment time because teams are going to target weaknesses. And when you have new players on a team, they don't know the lingo. They don't know necessarily everybody's specialties. A team like the Lynx really has an upper hand. So that's the hope, is that over the next 4 games, they continue the winning streak. At some point, the defense stays consistent and they can just continue to rattle off these wins. And then come that Aces game, we'll really kind of see where the Lynx stack up against the league, because Asia Wilson still plays there. And as long as Asia Wilson is still in Las Vegas, they're just a team to beat. And if there's another kind of bright spot in that, it's Fee plays out of her mind against Las Vegas. So that's kind of the big game I have circled of where we can tell where this team is. We've had over 200 people come in and check out this live again tonight. I appreciate every one of you for checking it out. This is something this season that I'm trying to do, kind of independence of everything. Daily Wolves are helping out. Zone coverage gives me access, but Lynx fans are awesome. You guys are diehards. It was the second I got credentials for the Lynx, just apparent how much you guys love the team. And there's just not a lot of coverage on it. So I figured, what the heck? I at least get to talk to people. Let's try and do a live. And so far, I can't tell you how thankful I am that it's been going this well. So until Tuesday, it'll be another late live after the Mercury game. But thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you on Tuesday.